Well, howdy. Welcome to the Armchair Masterminds casting a Survivor All-Winner season. I am Peter here with my sister Jackie again,
Hello.
and we are excited to bring you what we think to be perhaps the best combination of winners that can come back for winners.
hmm so we're going into our winter season. How we chose these winners kind of varies because some of them are like uber classics, which we all love, that we thought maybe needed another chance or like we just wanted to see more of when they were good. And some people who need to feel like they have something to prove about themselves, kind of covering different people from different eras of Survivor. So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, yeah. So we are able to have kind of a balance of players, and not so many players from the early season. But we have a decent on like the middle, like the teams, the Survivor, and in the 20s, and kind of in the even balance even into the 30s, and something to do in there. And we definitely have some that are more towards the strategic side, but then we have a few that aren't necessarily known to be the most strategic or the best winners, that they come and prove themselves in the season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think what we're going to do to get us started here is we're going to go introduce one woman, then one man, then one woman, then one man, and as we're going, we're going to discuss how what we think of these players and how they played before a little bit, and then kind of it's theorize how they would do in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jackie, why don't we get us started with our first woman?
Yes, our first woman, to go with a very obvious person to include, would be Kim. Kim Spradlin from One World. Um,
One.
and if you've watched a lot of like online videos and RHAP and are aware of all that stuff, like everyone just glows about Kim, and she's considered one of the best winners ever.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of people have her as like the best winning season, just for
Hmm.
the I really dominated that season.
Yeah, she really did.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely played with a little lower competition, considering Troy Zan was the next best player on that season. Was a
Hmm.
one threat, and
Hmm.
but I think that she's definitely got the type of skills that can translate into an all tournament season and even an all
Hmm.
winner.
Oh, well, like the thing with Kim is, if people have been like, she's been talked a lot about in the Survivor community, but she's still not in a season that's too overly popular. So it's possible with some of these really big names of people who've actually appeared multiple times and stuff like that, she's not most like the hugest target in the world, but she'll probably have a decent target on her back.
Yeah, no, I think that for some the winners that are bigger fans and that watch all the time,
Hmm.
maybe get into more in-depth analysis after the fact that they might have her on their radar.
Hmm.
But I think she's got the type of personality that she's going to kind of be able to get along with anyone.
Most definitely.
And there are definitely some other threats in there that are tend to be a little louder and
Hmm.
more out there that are going to be in front of them.
Hmm. She's the kind of winner who's very like sociable, strategic, but isn't necessarily super obvious with it. So I think that she could potentially do well, especially against some of these other people.
I mean, yeah, just look at how Suri was able to do it. On
Yeah,
the
I mean,
side.
if she had to go to tribal pre-merge, it might have been a different story, but
It might have, but she was still. I mean, in part of the game where she's a big threat, people still overlooked her because she was able to have those kind of social connections
mhm.
and able to, and make those bonds with people that I think that Kim could easily make similarly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I mean, especially if she manages to like ally with people who kind of seem kind of big and
Mhm.
like
Yeah,
obvious threats, she could easily slide by with not being like super loud.
yeah, and she's definitely the type of person who can steer from like the back. Like they don't necessarily need to be out there in the front telling everyone what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, more of the type of person that will kind of, plant those ideas in people's minds and make them want to do the things that she wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of persuasion I think she's going to do. It's not going to be, this is what I want to do, we're doing it. Like, sort
Yes.
of, kind of plant the ideas in people's minds.
Mm-hmm. No, I think Kim's going to do well. Is there anything else you want to say about her, or do you want to move on to one of your guys?
Well, why don't we move on to the first guy that we have on our list? All right, the first male. How can we not put the original Survivor winner on a Survivor winner season? So we're going to go with Mr. Richard Hatch himself. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. He, put him on a season of winners. As the original kind of strategist of Survivor, and then going on to All Stars and being very targeted for that reason because he was the original.
Mm-hmm.
I think that and he's still a big fan of the show. He watches it. I think he could come back and play better. I think he's the type of person that would probably, go looking for idols.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely got some new age thinking to him.
I definitely think he would be able to adapt a decent amount to what's going on. I mean, my initial reaction having Richard on the winter season is kind of like, but also it's kind of like, but how do you not include him? He's like the original person for all of this.
Yeah.
And I think that I think it would be really interesting because it's always weird when somebody from a really long time ago is popped into this because you don't know how different it will feel and be for them.
Yeah, no, I think on second chance we saw a couple of the older players, whether like a Kimmy Kappenberg, who actually came back and she had a little game to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Richard will still have a little bit of we'll still have a target, but in a season that everyone's a target, I think people will underestimate his ability to play the new age game.
Yeah, I feel like he could slide under because of that.
I have a hard time believing
so
that
long ago.
Yeah, he's not going to stand under the radar because that's not his way.
Well, he's not going to necessarily slide under the radar, but he's not going to seem like the most obvious target because he hasn't been present in this new game kind of play. But I mean, like, even if you look at like Jervis, he didn't play much of a game back in Borneo, but he came in Blood versus Water and he actually played. So
yeah, oh no, for sure. I think that that's a pretty damn good example there. Yeah, I think Richard definitely. I think he kind of want to be out in the forefront. I think if he was going to go out there, he was going to do some big things. He wouldn't accept just kind of getting voted out or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when we get some classic Richard moments,
mm-hmm. I mean, if he was voted out, I would like him to say like, "I've been bamboozled again."
Oh yeah, no. I have to say, I have found myself. I'd say that every once in a while, if someone does something, that I will start, shut up. I've been bamboozled. And and who doesn't? I mean, I'd love to see him fight a shark again. That would be another awesome moment to have. Shark fight.
I mean, they are spending a decent amount of time in Fiji, and as last season proved, there are sharks nearby.
Yeah.
So could happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So our first male, Richard Hatch. All right, Jackie. Why don't we move on to the next female?
Okay. So our next one is a really obvious choice. It is Sandra Diaz Twine.
Queen.
The Queen, yes. We love the Queen. And I feel like if anything, this past season with Game Changers, even though she was still like just in the pre-merge, she kind of like proved like that she has the wits of playing this game, and she most definitely could play a fourth time.
Oh yeah, I honestly I do think that this last time playing, even though it was by far results oriented wise, was her worst outing.
Yes,
She,
but it was very impressive still.
yeah, exactly. Would you let me finish my damn thought, Jackie?
Okay.
No, but yeah, I was saying, she came off a lot more impressive in this last season, like someone who's able to control the boat. And I think that could either work out for her pretty well, coming into another season, or it would be to a detriment.
I feel like if she hadn't have gone on Game Changers, she might have been able to slide by with all these winners.
Yeah, I think she would have a hard time then too. But I think now, if she could easily play it where she's the big threat, and that we could see some of these maybe lesser known people want to work with her just because they know that she will always be the target in front of them. They will use Sandra
Mhm.
as Nietzsche. How does that sound? I think we could see Sandra in it all with.
I feel like I mean, I could definitely see with some people trying to use Sandra as kind of like their meat shield, even though she's not a meat shield. And but she is so charming and snarky and hilarious that she can easily get people on her side just by charming them.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I think that most of the people that she's interacted with on in the game love her, even if even the ones that voted her out. I think they loved being with her, and they were all you know impressed. So I mean, it could be something where people can kind of well, now that people are can see her game a little bit better. Like we saw a lot of the game changes were saying like when Sandra was making her final pitch, and they're like, "Oh, damn, that's a real good move. This is impressive watching it. I wasn't expecting this." You're like, "Ooh." Responding. So it really depends on who she kind of ended up with. Like if she ended up in a situation where where she was having to go to travel a lot early on, she would probably not be in a great place. But if she is able to go 9 days without having to go to tribal council,
Mm-hmm.
I think that she'll be able to keep other people as big a threat in front of her.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because, yeah, I don't know. People were gonna see her as a pretty threatening force and stuff like that. But I mean, she's in a pack of winners, so it's kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I know I would be strongly rooting for the queen, but I have a hard time believing that people would take her all the way. I have a real hard time believing.
Um, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah. I think the best you could hope for is that someone falls into the classic trap of, oh, we can get her out next time.
We can work on her later. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, I think that's the best. Yeah, that's the only way that you get a couple people who underestimate her, but I have a hard time believing that can happen.
Hmm. I mean, like that episode in Game Changers when she was voted out. I don't remember what exactly I heard it from, but like like with that challenge, um, like Ozzy and Sarah were behind that boat or whatever, and they were actively trying not to push it like hard at all
Yeah, I
because
mean,
they wanted to vote her out
oh yeah, I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean,
because they didn't want her making merge.
yeah, no, I think that it was probably the smart move for them, to be honest.
Hmm.
Uh, Sandra, once Sandra hits the merge, her chances go up drastically. I mean,
Most definitely, because then you can get into that mentality of, oh, we'll just get her next time.
well, the thing is,
Because,
she's never going to blow it up. She's never going to blow up camp, in a way that is detrimental to her game. She's not going to be wishy-washy. She's always going to have, proper explanations that people are going to understand what she's doing. She's not going to be like Ty, who's, getting everyone mad at him because, you know, he's questioning, he's questioning everything they're telling him, and what's shady. She owns up to what she does, and, if she got to the merge, she would get something like Shaniti, who, what, didn't have to go to travel for the merge, and everyone, just kind of overlooked her.
mhm.
All right, why don't we move on? All right, I'm going to go the second male in our all-winner season. the winner of Survivor Cook Islands, Yule Kwan. So as you can see, Yule is one of our favorite winners.
Most definitely, 100%.
On Yule, a lot of people go, oh, he had a super idol, and yeah, that played a part to it.
I mean,
But
he did actively use it to flip Penner, so he kind of made a move out of the super idol, anyways.
Yeah, no, he kept good bonds with everyone, and the fact that he was able to get enough people to not vote for Ozzy, who won so many of those challenges, I think
especially in that era of Survivor.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's the time when challenges are valued a lot more than they are now. I mean, that was pretty impressive.
I mean, he was a part of, like, that alliance was a minority alliance. Like, as far as numbers go, because, like, when you have, because you just expect, especially back then, you expect a pagonging. And I find it most impressive that winners who are able to turn their stuff around so that their people can move ahead when otherwise they probably would have been the ones who just had to go.
Oh yeah, no, I think he's definitely like one of the few, one of the like if you were going to point to a player being completely like triple threat, I think he is definitely a triple threat. I think that most people don't necessarily think of him like that. Obviously he's incredibly intelligent. He won a lot. I mean, considering how good Omni was in that season, Yule was always right there. Yule was, I mean, in a lot of those challenges, Yule was very impressive.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
No, I think Yule will be
but he'll
amazing.
He'll never be viewed as the biggest challenge threat.
His
And his social game is very underrated, I think, because he's got a way of talking to people, similar to Kim, very calm talking to people.
yes.
Very logical, but in kind of endearing way.
And the thing is, like, where he won such a long time ago, and he's not like that obvious in the community a whole lot anymore, I feel like he could slide under the radar a tiny bit. Like, even though he's so amazing and a triple threat and would be an amazing winner to have again, I don't think he would be the most obvious target.
No, I think, yeah, and I think he's the type of person that can get creative with different things. Like, if he were to get a boat steal or something like that, I think he would be the type of person that could use that correctly. He could be the first person to really maximize the use of one of these advantages that I kind of get popping up, but maybe aren't as important. I can see him doing some crazy stuff like that.
I mean, he definitely has a good mind for that kind of a thing. I mean, we all know the real game changer from that season was Cowboy, but
hey, Cowboy invented boats for them.
I know, that's why I'm saying he's a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, and you were correctly at that point. As soon as I'm not sure that was entirely the whole reason for voting Cowboy out, but voting out the person who kind of has an idea of how to stop the idol. I mean, that's a pretty smart move.
Yeah.
All right.
And I also have like one more point to make about him.
How much we love you, or did you have something else?
I wanted to talk about him just like a little more. Well, but the thing, like, with Yule in the game, like, he like had a lot of really intensive, like, deep strategy talks with like Becky, and like within that kind of four, and he was able to make himself seem like the most obvious strategist at the end. Like, people were saying that he was the one in charge of all of that, even though there were other people who were also involved, but he was the more obvious person.
Yeah, I think some of that is just just from appearance's sake, looking at that group. I don't expect Ozzy to be the strategist. He really was, and I think Ozzy's proven that he really isn't a strategist.
Yes.
And then Sandra and Becky, they're not going to get just from appearances sake, they're not going to get as much, respect.
And I feel like part of what it was Yul was doing a decent amount of talking with the other people.
Yeah, he maintained good relationships with even the people on the other side, or at least stayed on, talking.
I mean, like, I would say that most of the strategy, based off of what I've observed, came between the whole Becky-Yul interactions, but a lot of it was that Yul was the one who was talking to the other people about those strategic moves.
Yeah, I do think that's part, and that's something that I think if you want something to kind of be credited as yours, that's a better way to approach something rather than the real wall. I need to make a resume move. This is my move. Rather than blatantly talking about that, I think you're more correct and kind of be the one talking to people about it. So they're naturally going to associate that.
Okay, we can move on now.
People saying, "We know you're in charge."
Yeah.
So, I mean, that could end up being a detriment towards him, in an All-Star game where now the big threats get voted out. But hey, I think it would be interesting to see him play again because I do think he's one of the better players to win. But since he has that, the god idol, he gets people discredit his win.
I mean, I think this season is a way to prove himself as one of the best people who ever played the game. Without, like, the god idol getting in the way of that kind of perception. I can talk about the next person if you want.
Yeah, why don't we move on?
Okay. So I'm putting this list is kind of top heavy. And I'm going to put Parvati down as the next person.
All right.
Parvati.
Parvati. All right. Now, Parvati is, her and Sandra, she almost won that.
Yeah, she did almost win that. And I personally love Parvati. I've watched Micronesia like so many times. I would be very excited to see Parvati play again.
So yeah, I think Parvati is one of those types of people that has the intelligence that you're not necessarily expecting, who looks like that, and even when she's been viewed as a threat, she's been able to do very well.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I feel like she's like the kind of person, if she's not like one of the first two people voted off, she can do amazingly and work the crap out of people.
Oh yeah, the thing is, she's not bad at challenges. She's a very good, especially at swimming.
She's a really good swimmer.
Yeah, but I mean, even going into Micronesia, she was, would have been the first person out if Fair Play hadn't decided to go home.
Yes.
So her winning that after the threat, because especially when she was on a tribe with Penner to start with, who knew who she was and was like, we need to get rid of her, guys. And the heroes versus villains. She was a bit, people were targeting, because she was with Russell and associating with him.
Well, she was mainly negotiating with him because nobody else was like talking to her.
Oh yeah.
Nobody wanted to work with her.
She's good at starting from the bottom and then create the base, and then able to pull it out. Sort of. I think she would probably come in and people would be a little bit threatened by her to start with, but I think she did well. She's got the right.
No, I personally am kind of like really glad that fair play did end up leaving the first vote, regardless of the circumstances of it. So that we could get that Black Widows Brigade and that really exciting action going later on in the game.
I mean, I think it would have been interesting, just fair play being in there too. But no, I agree. I think having a couple of the best players ever in Parvati and Suri, and then and Amanda was a pretty decent player as well. Having those ringlead an all-girls alliance that for the ages, that definitely a good season. And I think Parvati has proven, on multiple seasons that she's able to do well, especially even when she starts with that
game. My only concern with her is that I feel like she might not want to come back, but
I have to believe like that with a lot of these people, if there was an all-winner season, that they would have a hard time coming back and and testing themselves against others.
Because I mean, like, being a part of an all-winner season is kind of like the ultimate season to be a part of. So I bet it's pretty hard to turn down if you can do it.
Yeah, especially if we could see an all-winner season like the last season or something like that. I think most of the people would have a hard time back to that. All right. You have anything else about Parvati, or should we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I question most of these people's abilities to make it far in the game, but some of them have to. So
exactly. I think these questions a lot of people when it came to game changers. I think we questioned a lot of their ability to make it first starting again.
I have to say, with like a season like this, I think with the amount of star power and threat level that these people had beforehand, and when you're getting down to the end of the game and the post merge and stuff like that, it's really going to be based off of what you see of that person in that game, because like as far as who you vote for in the end, because everyone's a threat, because everyone was able to win this game for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some of them that could solely ride the game on their credibility, and get to the end, and if they're against the right people, that maybe they made a move here or move there. I think if we had taken Cerise as the game changer, even if she hadn't made a huge amount of moves, I think people would have a hard time not giving her a money. I have a hard time believing people wouldn't, have her win just because she's Cerise. So I think a lot of these people, you get situations like that. All right. Well, why don't we move to the next male? Let's go. We're kind of making we're starting with the older players and making our way forward. But not necessarily 100% in that order. Let's go to someone who was rumored to come back in Survivor Game Changers during that casting process. The winner of Survivor Fiji, Earl Cole.
Yay!
Yeah. Now, I know Earl's the type of person that I've kind of been looking to see back for a while now, because I think he's a good winner who maybe comes from a lesser known season, or a less not the best season, and didn't wasn't necessarily the best. I wouldn't say he was probably the best player there, but wasn't the.
I mean, yeah, man, but
he was better than Yao. Yao Man wasn't the same strategically. I think Earl had the better.
Okay. I think they were good in different perspectives.
Yeah. So I think seeing Earl back on a season that was a little better would be awesome.
Yes, I honestly think Earl would do amazing coming
I
back
yeah.
to Survivor.
hmm I mean,
I
even if
mean,
it, even if
because
it
people
wasn't
wouldn't
an all
take him as
winners,
seriously.
oh yeah, even if it wasn't an all winner season, because I think a lot of people wouldn't even have watched his season necessarily.
Yeah, I'm sure there's actually a decent amount of these people who wouldn't have watched that season.
hmm
And I mean, he would be very underestimated, but he also was the first person to win unanimously.
Yeah,
Like he did that for a reason, and he did that and understood strategy and all that. Came from a minority alliance and was able to blow people out of the way when he didn't even watch Survivor before going out there.
yeah. So I mean, just imagine if he had a little bit of preparation and then able
Hmm.
to rely on those natural instincts that he had,
Hmm.
um, and and I mean, he showed the ability to cut people at the create close friendships, cut them at the end, and still
Hmm.
get their vote.
Yeah.
It's I think he and I think people are going to respect him and the way he plays,
Hmm.
um, a lot. So I think that Earl
I think
definitely.
he could win again.
Well, I think he could too. And I was disappointed when he didn't make it on Survivor Game Changers.
I
Um,
think he would have been interesting.
yeah, I mean, I can understand him not being on Game Changers, but I think it was like originally when they were thinking about doing like tribal winners, a tribe of merge boots, and a tribe of pre-merge.
I'm thinking I feel like I read at some point that that was just kind of what they were guessing, but it was proven false.
But I mean, they had a lot of winners interviewing was the thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess yeah, no, I think we no one people haven't seen Earl play in a while. Who
Hmm.
knows? I mean, I imagine he's probably watched some of the seasons since then,
Yeah.
so he would kind of have an idea, what these other people were doing. But I
Hmm.
think he's definitely the type of person that would, people wouldn't expect, and but he's also calm enough, rational enough
Hmm.
that people are going to enjoy, working with him.
Hmm.
And yeah,
I definitely think he could do really well. For I basically already explained why I liked him,
yeah,
but no, I don't know, and I don't think people would know him super well. And I think he could. Yeah, I think just basically off of the. I mean, like with Sarah, Sarah made. I mean, she made an impression on me,
hmm
but then again, I'm not every Survivor watcher in the world.
oh yeah,
Um, her, um, and but people didn't necessarily know a whole lot about her, and she was able to use that to her advantage and play in a really backstabby way. And people could have a perception of Earl of wanting to be like loyal and stuff because of the era he came from.
yeah,
So he could definitely benefit off of that
yeah,
and
no,
be able to play a cutthroat game and get away with it.
oh for sure. hmm All right, why don't we move on to our next woman?
Okay, our next woman is a woman that I am personally a huge fan of. Back from Survivor Philippines, Denise Stapley.
Denise Stapley. Woo! All right. No, I think Denise is a very impressive winner. What do you think about her, Jeff?
I love her. She went to every single tribal council and didn't get voted out and pulled away the
Hey,
vote.
Jackie, can you adjust your camera a little bit? You're kind of at the bottom of it.
I'm at the bottom.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go. That's better. All right. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
better.
yeah, she went to every tribal. That was,
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
super impressive. Like, I don't know how many immunities she won. I'm blanking on that.
yeah,
Um, but to be vulnerable for that long and kind of having that many relationships that you're able to work things so it's not you, and she was a very strong female
hmm
who is very strategic, and so being able to do all of that and not get voted out I think is super impressive.
oh yeah, no, and I think she's the type of person that
if we saw her on another season again, I think she would. There would be she benefits, I think, from having a lot of guys around,
Mm-hmm.
because I think a lot of guys will respect her and the way she is, and then
Mm-hmm.
also she's not going to be more of a threat than the guys because
Mm-hmm.
she's a little more cerebral player. She listens. She's not in anyone's face.
I mean, she is a therapist. She is able to listen to people.
Oh yeah. And I'd be curious to see if anyone had any ideas of her being as a threat. But I think she's another one of those people that, maybe is a little less known,
Mm-hmm.
is kind of that second tier of winners that, people don't, scream about from the mountaintops, but is very, very impressive.
I mean, with her having such a close relationship to Malcolm, but Malcolm is the one who is largely remembered off of that.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yeah, she might be able to not be the most obvious person in the world, but I don't know. I think she would be I would be really interested in seeing her play again because I thought she was a really strong contestant. And there's a lot of people who have played multiple times who I think are less interesting than her.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
No, she
I
from
just like her a lot.
in the TV aspect, she definitely is able to add good analysis of situations.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
In her confessionals, is able to explain things, in a pretty good manner. And I think she's just kind of a pleasant person that, there to root for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's definitely a very rootable person. And she's also a person who shows she's an older woman and she's able to be taken seriously. And I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh yeah, no, she's one of those few people that kind of is able to be in that kind of that is that mother role that is able to actually be a little more cutthroat and be respected in the end.
yes.
So, and I think that she gives off a vibe that even if she wasn't being, if she was a little more straightforward with her strategy and wasn't necessarily the most, doing the most big moves or something like that, she's going to give off the vibe that she knows what's going on. She knows what she's doing, that she's making strategic moves, whether you know about it or not. And so no matter, if she has the big moves at the end, she could sit there and people will think of her as someone who has made moves.
Yes.
And as a therapist, I think she understands that that's truly how you need to be able to understand people's minds. It doesn't necessarily need to be the obvious things. It's the little things that people don't even know about themselves that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. No, I think she'll be amazing. I hearing about as far as winners to potentially come back, she's probably towards the top of my list because we just haven't. I don't feel like we've seen enough of her.
No.
And I feel like she's very multidimensional and she has a lot going to her. She's very much like a triple threat, I have to say. I really do think so.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Unless you have anything more to say, I think moving on to a guy.
All right. Why don't we jump to someone from a little bit, one of our newer seasons. Why don't we go the winner of Survivor Second Chance, Jeremy. Jeremy, yes. I think that this is someone who clearly won their season by winning got all the jury votes. People that are pretty impressive. In Jeremy, in Spencer, and Tasha. I think that Jeremy is someone who people are going to, he played a fairly straightforward game. I think he's going to benefit kind of like Sarah did in Game Changers. People think he's a loyal.
I have a question. Would it be helpful if I put in headphones?
I mean, perhaps. You can if you want. But I think Jeremy is the type of person that people, like I said, people are going to think of him as a loyal person because he was a loyal person. He stuck to his guns. He's not necessarily the most sneaky person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, he's a little bit fresher in people's minds as being, a dominant player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that might hurt him. And, and I'm looking at this list, I think there are less super physical people. So that might also hurt him because he'll be one of the bigger guys and people may view him different, it may be worse for him in terms of how people view him as a player going forward. What are your thoughts on Jeremy?
I think that, can you hear me? Okay. My thoughts on Jeremy are that I think that he's a pretty non-threatening guy, and I think it's really important that we include him because I feel like a lot of, it takes something to win a returning player season.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he's like, he's got that very non-threatening vibe. He's really easily able to like hide behind people. And, he was able to be loved enough that he could beat somebody like Spencer, who is like a huge fan favorite.
But do you think that without the Joe, maybe Joe Amazing, or without the Savage, without as many of the super alpha male types, do you think he's going to be able to hide behind other physical, hide behind people when there's not as many physical threats?
Oh, he might not be able to hide as well then. Yeah, I don't know how easily he'll be able to hide as far as physical threats go in this season.
Look at the guys we talked about, Richard, Ewell, and Earl, who we've talked about so far. Ewell's a big guy, but he's always going to be more of a strategic guy. I think Jeremy is looking at one of the bigger guys in the cast, and is probably going to be a bigger physical guy.
Yeah, he's probably going to be one of the bigger guys of the cast. Honestly, I don't really know. I don't have anything against Jeremy, but I'm also not like a huge Jeremy rooter.
Yeah.
So, I'd be okay with him doing well. It wouldn't be heartbroken if he didn't.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's kind of like, I personally rooted for Spencer in that season, but I do think Jeremy deserved to win because he definitely was able to play a game that was more respected by his peers, and less flip flopping, but still able to have those big moves. So I think it would be interesting to see him on another returning player season because he's again another type of this person that kind of gets along with basically everyone.
Yeah, especially when we were talking about Second Chance, and I was trying to analyze the merge to see how people would try to pair up and who might go and stuff. And I basically saw Jeremy as if he was able to match up with anyone there, and that's because he had relationships with everybody based off of all the switches and stuff, and he hadn't betrayed anyone and was able to maintain those relationships.
Oh yeah, no, I think he's and all of these people, for the most part, are the types that would you basically going to do well on any season they go to. So it's will be interesting to see how exactly people are going to have to go early when there's so many good players.
Peter, how is your Wi-Fi?
What are you lagging for me?
You're kind of spotty.
What, the picture or the topic? You have to take the headphones out. You're wrestling with the mic and it's bugging. So is it my hearing? Or are you able to hear me?
I'm able to hear you. Your voice just kind of sounds robotic and weird.
Oh, okay. Sounds different than normal does.
it got weird over the past couple minutes, but it's okay. It works.
All right. Well, okay. So we've talked about Jeremy. Why don't we bring up another woman?
Okay. So I realized just now that I didn't write down all the women. I only wrote down 8 of them.
Okay.
Just a future note. I know who one of the people are that I forgot to write down.
Well, just introduce one. If we get to that point, I have them written down.
Okay. So the next person we're going to include on this season, we're going to go back in time a decent amount to Tina Wesson.
No,
from Australian Outback.
All right. This would be Tina's 4th time playing. Joining the 4-timer club.
It kind of only feels like 3rd because of the whole like going out really early in All Stars, but
yeah, I mean she still got to experience that. What was the amazing Savoia drive? No, I think that Tina is the type of person that when she came out in Blood vs. Water, she showed that she's got some game. Like I think she actually plays, the new school game better than people thought. She came out and was very strategic for someone who wasn't known for being strategic.
I mean, like with the Blood versus Water stuff, I definitely feel like she's able to play a little bit more of a new style game, but she also, I think, has a little bit of a disadvantage there still. Because even when you saw her playing that, as soon as something shifted against her, like right at the merge when Aras was voted out, you could see really where she was kind of stuck in her loyalties, and it didn't really change a whole bunch. Like, I feel like there's something off with her maneuverability in the game, is my main.
I think part of that, too, was where she was with Katie. I think that at that point, it was a lot of it was you had the couple where it was all the singles left, going against those couples. I think that was a large portion of it. So I'm not going to discredit her too much for sticking with the group that involved her daughter. There wasn't a whole lot of maneuverability with those other people for her. And I think Tyson at that point was pretty much done it for her. So, she was he knew that she was with Aras, and and he knew better than to let Tina stick with her. No, but I think having someone who, having someone in the cast who's, can have that little older, a little more wise, a little wiser, but yet still able to play the new school game, which she was proven to do.
And she's like right at the beginning as far as winners go. I mean, like her and Richard are like very iconic for being at the very beginning. And and I feel like it's kind of hard to have this season without her, especially where she's like a 3-time player and she's actually done a decent job in a fairly recent season. If you gave her a couple more if she made it like a tribal council farther, she might have been able to win because of the loyalties she had with that one alliance.
If she had made it to the final tribal, I think she would have won. Okay, maybe if Tyson were there, it may have been, more of a 50-50 split sort of thing. But
it wouldn't have been like super clean, but she would have been definitely in contention.
Yeah, she would have gotten at least 3 or 4 votes. All right, why don't we move on? Okay, our next guy. This one may be a little questionable to some people. I think that not many would think of this person to come back in an all-winner season, but it's someone that I think has something to prove. I think that they could prove themselves to be a better player and come out and get some respect. We were talking about the winner of Survivor Nicaragua, Fabio.
Fabio, my favorite winner ever.
You know what? He's not necessarily known to be the best winner, but I think he adds something a little different to an all-winner season. You know, we have someone.
I definitely feel like it's important to have winners of different eras, beliefs, and different reasons why they won.
Yeah.
And Fabio went and was able to tear up the challenges when he needed to and stuff like that. And I feel like a lot of like including him on a season like this is kind of like a redemption, proving why he is worthy of winning this game.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see if he could come out and show some strategic chops, you know, for the game. Be strategic. I think it would be hard for him, just because there's so many strategic players that would be coming back for this all-winning season, for him to kind of stand out as a strategic player. But I think that he's most likely able to be kind of the type of person that would be dragged along with an alliance.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that a decent amount of people would kind of view him as a number, and he would be able to go along like that. He's a strong person that Jeremy could drag along. There you go.
I'm not sure that he's necessarily going to be a huge midfield in front of Jeremy. But I think that there is some potential for him to win, obviously. But I mean, he won before, so I think he's definitely got the potential to do it again. As long as, you know, I think it would have to be a similar scenario to how he won before.
I have a hard time imagining. I can imagine him being a finalist who loses. I can't imagine him winning again.
I think it would have to involve him going on, you know, kind of maybe strict towards the end.
He would have to be.
Yeah.
What?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
What?
Can you let me finish?
Okay.
Okay. It would involve a large, somewhat long immunity streak. It would involve, being there against people that had, that people were angry at them. But then I think he would definitely need to show that he had been more strategic. I think he would need to have been swing vote perhaps a couple of times. It would have to be, kind of, play a game like Blue, from Tagyan, but, obviously one that doesn't choose cast to win. I something like that. I think, as long as he can show that he had independent thought, he would be able to, I think, perhaps win against the right people.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like I don't know how involved he's been in any of the recent Survivor and stuff like that, but he could definitely use the perceptions people have of him to his advantage. So if he was able to evolve his game to be more strategic and stuff, and he was able to get respect in that kind of a manner, that's how I most likely see him as a potential winner. But I'm having a hard time buying that he could.
No, I think that his past reputation, I don't think he'd be able to use that in farewell. Like, he may be able to get far because of his past reputation, but I think that unless he kind of disproves, exactly what he would have to come out immediately and kind of prove to people, well, yeah, I'm not just a dumb guy. I think you have to prove to people right from the, you have to set a tone of that, basically from the beginning, in order to get over that reputation. All right, let me move on to the next moment.
Okay, so the next player, who would be very controversial or controversial as I feel like that was a nickname made at a different point in time. I don't know, but I would be including Michele from Cochran.
The rightful winner of Cochran. Right, Jackie? Right?
I have accepted Michele as a winner. I feel like I am over that.
Yes. For those of you who pretty much know, but Jackie is a big Aubrey fan.
I am a big Aubrey fan, but I am willing to accept it because they don't have that bad blood between them anymore. So why should I be worried about it?
Exactly. Well, plus Michelle deserved to win. So.
Well, like, she did win that season for a reason. So.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. Okay. So Michelle, I think Michelle is. So I mean, if I was going to put a ranking of people I think we're going to win, I think Michelle would be towards the top. I honestly think Michelle would have a fantastic chance of winning a second time she did. On the other season, because she's definitely underestimated from her season. A lot of people think she should have won. But she's got the social game, and she's strategic enough where people will realize that she is strategic. She understands how the game works, and I think that a lot of people will underestimate her.
You know, I am going into a all-winner season. I am definitely rooting for Michelle in a manner. There's a lot of people I'd be rooting for, so I'd probably be pretty upset every episode. But
You get someone Fabio gets voted off, obviously. We're probably being serious, right?
But, like, okay. But I really want Michelle to have the opportunity to prove herself since she's been getting a lot of crap for her gameplay. And I mean, like, I like her. I think she's a good winner. And I feel like that takes time for people to accept, kind of like the ending of La La Land. But which I don't know if you actually watched that, Peter.
No, that reference goes over my head.
What?
That reference goes over my head.
Okay. It's okay. I'll get you to watch La La Land so we can have a conversation about it. Okay. But but I feel like there's definitely a lot of merit to her game, and she could 100% win again, and I fully expect that she will have that easy ability coming into this game. So I am on Team Michelle for this. I'm also on a lot of other teams, but I'm on Team Michelle.
Yeah, I'm basically on, I'm on Team every person I've named so far. So. All right. So why don't we move on to our next man? Let's see. We're going to go a little bit new. We're going to go a very, very recent season. The winner of Millennials versus Gen X, Adam.
Adam!
So, Jackie, what do you think of having Adam on a all-winner season?
Oh, I would love it. I just think Adam's such a good person. Like, just hearing him talk about anything, literally, and he's such a huge fan of the show. I'm just a fan of Adam just in general for those reasons. Yeah. And I thought he played such a solid game, and he has such a good perception of what is necessary, what steps he has to take, when he can step back from something to make it so he's successful. Like, he has the ability of knowing, like, hey, I need to make sure that I'm on the right side of the votes at the merge. But if you're playing super duper hard the entirety of the post merge, then you're going to be voted out, like, or a huge target, and alienate yourself from different groups like Zeke or David. And he was able to make it so he was enough in charge, but not too in the forefront all of the time. And I feel like his game was pretty masterful. And he's a pretty underrated winner as far as, like, if you see, like, the rankings and stuff that people have. Yeah. And no, I think he would be, I would love to see him play again. I would be pretty upset if he went out early.
Yeah, no, I think he's one of the best players at the, certain, the aspect of the game that I think is completely underrated or that people don't talk about is you don't necessarily have to make big moves as long as people think of you as someone who played the game strategic. And that, as, we kind of talked about with, that's kind of how Michelle won, that she wasn't necessarily making huge big moves, but people thought of her as a strategic player, and she gave off that vibe. Adam is that type of person. He is the type of person where, even if he's not making big moves, people know that he is strategizing. That it's not a form, you know, he's not going to get to the end and be like, oh, I strategized, and everyone's like, wait, what?
What? Did that happen?
Yeah, he's doing it the whole time, and if you know, if people would be like, okay, well, I'm being, you know, I'm strategizing. People are like, okay, yeah, I believe you, and I think the evidence for that is, you know, when Ken decides that, you know, he's going to vote out Dave, and then the entire jury is like, oh yeah, good job, Adam, you got him to flip. It's like, no, that's not really what happened, but I appreciate you giving me your vote.
Okay, so basically with what I've heard, that conversation went a lot longer than it looked like. Congratulations, Adam, woohoo, was a lot longer than just that. But something like I really... I mean, he has a really good, like, perspective on the game, and he also, like, you know, one of his big things is all these people go around saying, I'm not here to make friends, but he goes around saying, I am here to make friends. And he also, because you need these relationships in the game, and he also is one for being brutally honest and blunt with people during different points of the game. So when he actually does end up lying to you, you think he's telling the truth, because why would he be doing anything different than he does? He's been previously.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if I were to play the game, I think that a lot of what I would do would be kind of similar to that. Be like, yeah, I screwed you over. Yeah, that happened. Sorry, I did it. Well, I mean, not really sorry, but, you know, moving forward, that we don't shut that door to continue working together in the future, which I think is something that Adam did very well. I mean, one of his memorable lines was, I screwed you, you know, I screwed you. You know, the Taylor wants to go where he brother out figgy. So, but the thing is, you know, in that post-merge, he was one of the few people that maintained relationships, even with all those people that weren't in his alliance or his trust cluster at the time, you know.
Yeah, he
definitely
definitely
maintained those relationships.
He maintained relationships across enemy lines. Like, no, I would be really excited to see him play again. Yeah, he would be someone I would be really upset if they went out early.
And I think he would be one of those people that too that's a little underrated going into the season. I don't think people are necessarily going to be worried about Adam being the smartest, or, you know, or anything like that, or the most social. But, like, you know, he's not going to necessarily be a huge threat to a lot of people. All right, let me move on to our next female.
Okay, so the next female on our list is the winner of Aubrey Bracco's favorite season, South Pacific, which is Sophie.
So far, I like, you know, with some of the interviews that Sophie's done since her game and stuff like that. I really like Sophie as a winner. I'm glad to see her win, especially definitely with coach.
You know, like, I don't think I thought a whole bunch of her at the time, and I think she's a pretty under the radar winner. Like, she didn't necessarily get a huge edit. But that's mainly because, like, you had these really big personalities, and, like, Coach and Ozzy came in, like, second and fourth place.
Yeah, they were just huge portions of that season. So there was no way, you know, they were always going to take up most screen time. I think Sophie's definitely the type of person that, you know, most people are going to think she's only got that strategic element to her game, but I think she's definitely more of a chameleon in terms of, you know, she was a part of a tribe that, you know, they treated religion as a really big portion of that tribe, and if I remember correctly, I don't think Sophie is that, like, that meant as much to Sophie, but she was able, you know, she knew enough to that was an important thing to a lot of those people, and if she participated, if she did not participate in that would alienate her. So I think, you know, she's willing to put, you know, some pride, you know, that sort of stuff, and able to go through and deal with that.
I think she could be very strategic this time around, and I definitely think that she wouldn't be necessarily the hugest threat to people who aren't super involved in the Survivor community. because she has proven with her different conversations and stuff like that she has a very she's very intelligent and has a very strategic mind, and I feel like she could definitely use that to her advantage in this kind of a scenario, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be a Pagonging like most of like her season kind of was, and because there probably will actually be tribe swaps, and I feel like you could definitely see her strategic light shine in a different arena. So
I don't know. I think she's one of the players that you don't necessarily have as much game tape on. There's probably a lot of little things that's going on in the background that we don't necessarily get to see. But I think she worked well with having someone like Coach who was out in the front. Who was taking all the credit / blame or was the big person out in front, and this season that's all winners. I think that could it might be a little bit harder to find someone like Coach who you can do that with and get away with beating them at the end. But I think that there are a lot of people that she could sit behind and let them kind of sit out front and take all the bullets while she's behind. And definitely one of those people that is definitely going to seem strategic, whether she's doing big moves.
And I mean, I feel like she could definitely have a little bit of a Sarah Lacina run coming into this, because I mean, like, even in that kind of a scenario, she is like, she did come from a group of people who were loyal to each other and had this whole faith thing behind them and all of that. So she could definitely, she could easily flip people and stuff like that. Are you making...
I'm trying to turn the camera here at the bottom. That's worse. So, okay. All right, why don't we move on to our next guy here? We're kind of running probably a little long time, but we still got some more people to get through. Let's go. Our next man. We're going to go back into those kind of those teams season. The winner of Survivor China, Todd. And I think that Todd is the type of person who, just as a winner, I really enjoyed watching him play. I think he is one of the more underrated. When people talk about great seasons, you don't necessarily think most people don't think of Todd, but I think Todd is a very good winner. He had some good competition. But he definitely knew how to play people against each other who didn't like each other. Had someone come up and tell him right away, "Hey, I know you're the sneaky one." And was able to use that to his advantage, and definitely the type of person who knew how to tell people what they wanted.
I mean, he manipulated people really well and got things running in the right direction for him. With that, I don't know. I think he was I think he's a very impressive winner. I don't know. His gameplay shined through a lot more than a lot of the other people in that season.
Well, strategy may not have been the biggest thing on that season. When a couple of the other strategic players, the more strategic players we had, Jean Robert, who everyone hated, and then you had some strategic players on the other side, on the other tribe, is it Fei Long? Is that the other tribe?
It sounds right. Yeah.
Fei Long tribe, and you had PG over there who was a strategist, but they came in under the numbers. So, I mean, Todd, I would say that Amanda and was a strategist, but she was working with Todd. So he never really had to go super hard against someone who, a strategist that had numbers. So I think it would be interesting to see him in a situation where, he wasn't able to prove it.
I think it'd be really cool to come back. I mean, I feel like a lot of these people are really strategic, so I don't know what you get when you have this many strategic people right in front of each other, but
I think he gets some pretty good moves. So So, yeah, no, I think one of the things that can hold Todd back is that, if he's going to tribal council early on, he is a smaller dude.
He is a smart dude. I think to my knowledge, he's been through some stuff since he's left Survivor. But I don't know. I think he's got himself together by now.
Oh, yeah. No, I think, yeah. So, I'm curious to see what Todd will be like this season.
Mm-hmm.
You have anything else to say about Todd? Or can we move on?
I don't really have that much to say about Todd. I mean, I don't know. I think it was interesting. Like, wasn't he the one who told James, like, hey, when you get over there, there's another idol. It's going to be right here.
Yeah, no, that was Todd. Yeah, he got to give James. I mean, I think realistically what he should have done was just not giving James his idol, or
yeah, not giving James his idol and stuff like that.
The fact that he didn't get the idol back, I mean, that wasn't a great move, but I mean, luckily for him, it was James who, didn't necessarily play him the best. So, yeah, I mean, that's something that I wouldn't say necessarily the best. I mean, it's definitely like,
I don't think
he's on top of
things.
things. He's on top of things and is able to come up with some of these good plans that are a little more complicated. But I think it's hard. I wouldn't necessarily say that that's the best plan ever.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or do you want to move on to the next woman?
Let's move on. All right, who do you have next on your list?
Okay, so next on my list, I have a slot that is designated towards two different people.
Oh, so yes, so this is our slot that we get to decide who we want. All right, who are these people?
Okay, so this is the Danni, winner of Guatemala, / Natalie White slot.
All right. Natalie White, the winner of Samoa. She beat Russell in the finals. Very controversial, bigger jury, as the people like to say now. Versus Danni, the winner of Guatemala, kind of a little more controversial at the time as well. Or controversial nowadays. In this spot, I have to say I am leaning towards Natalie.
I am leaning towards Natalie too.
All right, why don't we put Natalie White is our next woman that we're talking about.
And I'm moving Danni over to our honorable mentions.
All right. So what about Natalie impressed you?
Okay, so one of the biggest launch points of the game was at the merge, and there was like the purple tribe that had like all the numbers, and then there was Russell, the 444.
Yeah,
and
so
then
Baloo with 8 people and 444 going into the merge.
Yeah, and with like the biggest thing that Natalie did in that game was being able to communicate and properly socialize with the other side and notice that, hey, this guy is being a jerk. You can handle us later, kind of like the Sandra thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Let's just get rid of him now. And that was kind of the launch point that they worked off of. I honestly think, but besides that, you didn't see a whole lot more from her within the game. So I like to see her in a game where she has the full opportunity to prove what her abilities are, because a lot of what we saw with her was Russell naming her off and stuff like that. And I wanted her to prove that she's not just what Russell says she is and stuff like that.
No, and I think that she was the one that got those girls to turn on Eric, I believe. She's the one who put in their eyes that, hey, this is a good idea. To turn on them. It'll be fine. I think that I recently did a rewatch of Samoa, and I remember at the time I thought, oh, Russell's the best. This is all Russell. Well,
I did too, but then later on I decided that Russell isn't all that much
No,
amazing.
and I think watching that season, besides playing the idols and finding the idols, Russell didn't do quite as much. I mean, there were a couple moves that were more Russell socializing, but a lot of the stuff was initiated by Natalie and Jason and Nick all kind of talking. But I think Natalie was definitely the one that came forward thinking that she was the one to drive it in that those three.
And I mean, like, even with Mom, can I have some space?
I want to ask you at dinner.
Okay.
All
What
right.
to have for dinner?
All right. So.
Yeah, teriyaki fine.
All right. Okay, so yeah, so now we're like, so I think that she's definitely that person, and I think you said there's one of the more impressive final travels, especially from someone like that's kind of that the pretty blonde girl stereotype or archetype that they have. I think she was able to give a very good final travel council speech, and and was really able to dominate that part of the game with those other people. So I think that she would definitely be the type of person that maybe not necessarily the best strategist, but another person that will fly under the radar a little bit, but do enough strategy throughout to be a serious threat to the game.
And I kind of group her along with like Michele and like Fabio in the way of I kind of want to include them in this season so they have the opportunity to prove to us what they are, and they're able to kind of get their legacy out there properly, because they've been kind of people who've had a lot of scrutiny after the fact.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, why don't we move on to our next guy? All right, we got 3 more guys left and 2 more females. Our next guy that we're going to talk about, it took him 3 times to win, and was the winner of Survivor Blood versus Water, Tyson.
Okay, I am super excited to have Tyson back in this. I feel like he's somebody who we've seen 3 times, but he's interesting every time he's played, and he's very much honed down his ability to play the game. Like, he kind of came into the game, like, pretty chillax, like, the first couple times around, but he figured out how he needed to take this game seriously enough to get him in the location that he needed to be in. So, I'm all on board for Tyson.
I wouldn't say he didn't take it serious the first couple of times he played. I think he, at that point, just didn't understand how every little thing you do affects the way you the game. Whereas on Blood versus Water, he was there, he was focused, he was, he had everything, nailed down to a T. Like, he had every little detail going for him. And he is definitely the type of character that you need in a season like this. Someone, he's going to be able to, a pretty good commentator. I really like his kind of dry sense of humor when it comes to talking about other people. He's going to bring a little mischief to camp.
I mean, he definitely has a little bit of snarkiness to him, which always earns extra points. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I am totally on board with having Tyson back. I think he's a very good winner, and he very rightfully won that season. And
he dominated that season. That was all him. So. All right, so we have 2 more female slots. You don't have them, right?
Okay. I do remember what the females were. I did figure that out.
All right, why don't we go with our next? What's our next female that we're going to talk about?
The next female we are going to talk about is Natalie Anderson from San Juan del Sur.
St. Melissa, not the best known season, but Natalie is someone that was, was going to be on Game Changers.
I feel like, well, with like Natalie, I feel like she definitely kind of falls in the category of like Earl and Kim in a way that they were really good winners from not very good seasons.
Yeah, I wouldn't put her on necessarily the same level as Earl and Kim.
I wouldn't say she's necessarily like the same level as Kim, but I definitely feel like she had a very visible strategy and stuff like that. But when like people she was aligned with, like Jeremy, went out the door and she noticed that kind of fact, she was able to work things so that her numbers were more in her favor. Like at one point she just pretended like, oh, did I vote for the wrong person? Because she wanted to have that number with her. And she wanted to keep in like Keith, who was who she could reasonably say was, oh, he's a bigger threat than me. But
yeah. No, I think that I think Natalie was a good player. I think she's definitely a little more vocal, which, she's going to add a little more to the TV aspect of things, be a little more entertaining. She's not afraid to confront people. I do think she's kind of one of those people that, coming from one of those lesser seasons, has a little bit more to it. I think she, can earn some more respect from people. I have a hard time believing that people are going to want to listen to her, though. And, I don't think that I think she's going to have a hard time being the one dictator. Which probably isn't the worst thing in the world, because then you're not going to become a big threat.
Like she almost was, like she last minute was replaced by Sierra Dawn Thomas for Game Changers.
And yeah, because of her, we do get to experience fan favorite Sierra Dawn Thomas.
Fan favorite Sierra Dawn Thomas, yes. But Sierra was actually a pretty decent character in Game Changer.
No, I think it wasn't the worst thing in the world.
I don't know. I'm interested in seeing her play again. I wouldn't be heartbroken if she didn't do well, but I would be okay with her doing well. I feel like her chances of winning were kind of middle ground-ish. I don't think like she's gonna be everyone's biggest target, but I feel like I've said that a bunch already. So
yeah.
So that might not be entirely accurate, but I don't know. I don't think she's gonna be. No, I think she's gonna be able to do just fine, and she's a fairly strong female.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's actually like in decent shape, and she's intelligent, and she can manage to do different parts of the challenges. So I don't think she'll be a problem pre-merge. And if she can get herself in the right alliance and stuff like that, I mean, realistically speaking, she likely could end up with people who are slightly more strategic than her, and that could shine through a little bit more. And she could be a losing finalist. It's so hard to say because like all these people won for a reason. So to say that one of them's necessarily losing finalist material is kind of hard because they won.
No, for sure. I think that pretty much any combination of people you're going to get a pretty decent final tribal council. And I think Natalie is definitely the type of person that could do pretty well because she's not going to be a big target. And it would just be a thing if she can not talk, not create a target on their back by being super vocal. It will be a big thing, I think. All right, why don't we move on to our second to last man? Unless you have something else you want to say.
No, there's nothing else more I want to say. So go ahead and read the
All right. We're going to go. We're going to go to a player that has played twice. They won their first time. They come back. Didn't do quite as well the second time, but I think it's still kind of known as a decent player, but not necessarily the best. So we're going to go with the winner of Survivor Exile Island, Aras.
Aras. I like Aras. I think he's a pretty cool guy.
I do too. Now, I think it'd be interesting seeing the Aras and Tyson on the same season again. I think that'd be kind of fun to see. But I mean, this time at least, Aras would be the overwhelming threat compared to Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
Aras not having his, not being in a pair that's, two of the better physical, kind of, where it was him and Venus together were a big threat because there were the two of them. I think that, so Aras, you have anything you want to say?
I like Aras. I mean, I think that he could probably do pretty well in this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people would have a reason to try to kick him off a lot.
Yeah.
And with like his playing in Blood versus Water, I mean, he was like the merge boot. So like he didn't even make it. He made it far enough that you could remember that he was in the season, but not far enough to see like, oh, he stayed in it for a really long time.
Yeah, I think with that Tyson made pretty good, was talking constantly is the fact that he was a big threat, and so I think some of that will be remembered by people going forward. But besides that, I think most people don't understand what he did in this first game.
Like, I think he could be viewed as somebody who could be played easily just based off of how Tyson played him. But, and he could benefit kind of from that point, I feel like. But
yeah. But I think, he's definitely a social player, he's able to talk to everyone, gets along with pretty much everyone. Doesn't take grudges too much, so I don't think he's going to burn bridges necessarily with any players. I think that, he's definitely one of the more physical people that we have here. So that might not be the best thing for him. But I think he's definitely, I think people, people probably do this threat, but he's definitely getting at the social chops to do well.
I would like to see him play again. I could enjoy that.
Yeah. All right, why don't we go with our last woman? It should be pretty recent in our hearts.
Okay, so the last female is the winner of the last season, Sarah Lucina.
All right. So a couple of our alternates, obviously we had Danni, who we left off on the female side, and then we also left off Jenna from Survivor Amazon, were our next two females in line. Why Sarah again?
Sarah. Well, I probably should have included her farther up on the list, but because I forgot to write her name down, I didn't. But no, I think Sarah, I don't see Sarah winning another season, but I think she's important to include on this because the way she played Game Changers was so impressive. I am very proud of Sarah. I really liked her back in Kagayan, and I didn't know exactly what to expect of her coming into this season, but she was able to make these close bonds with everyone and was able to use people's perception of her to her advantage, and she was able to do all these things, and she was able to go into a final three with two men sitting next to her and come out as the winner, which is not something you see frequently on Survivor. That's not a frequent occasion at all. And she was very clearly the most strategic person at that point and very much running the show. So I'm very pleased with her. And she won an all-star season, and I feel like she 100% needs to be on this cast.
No, yeah, I think she had one of the more impressive seasons. Now, I do not think that it's a repeatable type of playing at all, because I think that her doing well was, largely dependent on the fact that people didn't get to see her play the first time and had very large misconceptions on how.
I mean, but like if they were paying attention, I could definitely see her gameplay the first time around.
Oh no, I do too, but I think for the most part, there were very large misconceptions on how she played, based on editing. I think, a lot of her moments were about how can Tony lie about being a cop? Like that was what she's known for. And and people, didn't quite understand that, she had kind of a nasty side to her. She was willing to throw the challenge to get rid of Cliff just because he threw a name out there. That she was, she really was a gamer. And I mean, she definitely toned that down by the second time she was playing. I think she'd have a hard time winning, especially where she's so recent. I think she'd have a hard time winning, coming back again. But who knows? Who knows?
I think people would have a very hard time trusting her at this point. But I don't know. You just can't. I can't not include her because.
Oh no, for sure. She played so well that she definitely deserves to come back and all of the season.
Yes. Okay. And why don't you list off your last person?
All right. Before I get to this last person, I'm going to name our alternates for the male category. There are a lot more, significant male winners. So there's a couple that we left off here. We not on the list. Boston Rob, we left off. We're not having him on for a fifth time.
And the reason we didn't include Boston Rob in this season, although he's so iconic in the Survivor community, it's kind of hard not to mention him as somebody who might come up.
Oh, I think
but
if there
we
was
didn't
actually
him because he's been out there too much.
I think that if they did an all-winner season, he would be on it. So
he probably would be on it.
He would be on that season, but I think with our season, I think it would be interesting to have him on there. And there's several of these players that we could easily switch him out for, but I think I'd like to see some of these other players, from those middle seasons get a second chance to kind of, show what they can do now against that.
I would preferably like to have most of the winners on the season be people who only played once. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So that you're not necessarily seeing the overplayed. I would rather have Adam on the season than Boston Rob. Because
sure.
I feel like you could definitely see more to his storyline than what has already been told, but you're not necessarily going to see a whole lot more with the Boston Rob storyline.
Yes, exactly. And then another person we left off was the man, myth, legend himself, John Cochran.
Cochran! Okay, but he's actively said that he doesn't want to play another season.
Yeah,
and I like Cochran. I feel like Cochran's kind of dividing thing within the Survivor community because some people really like Cochran and some people are like, who is this joke?
I think that, we are a very strategist-heavy season, and the person that, this other person that's on the season, it's definitely someone that I think is more of an interesting character than our last person. And, someone who, we talked about briefly with our last, with Sarah Lucino. We have the winner of Survivor Cagayan, Tony Jones.
Tony! Yes.
So, Tony is the last male that we have here. And I didn't necessarily put them in order from how we would want them. But I have a hard, you can't not have Tony on another season.
Tony's just too interesting.
Even for the 2 hours that he was on Game Changers, those were fascinating.
Yes, he made it fascinating. My favorite 5 minutes of Game Changers were basically on, the whole intro episode was at 2 hours. The first 5 minutes of the second hour, where everything just seems so perfect.
Where all the threats were getting together, Tony, Sandra, Aubrey.
You got a nice, solid Aubrey confessional, and it was really nice. And you saw her working with Tony and Sandra, and it was 5 minutes of heaven, and then it ended. and then
Tony screwed it all up. Now, I do think that, despite what Tony said in interviews, that he would bring the turn the dial all the way up in the next season. I think that after this, he would cool down a little bit coming into another season. Or if you want a tribe that didn't go to tribal council right away, he would be better off because he would calm down. He would get a chance. He wouldn't have to go to trouble right away, so he wouldn't have to play all out to begin with. I do think he'd have a hard time being calm the entire way, but he is someone that's going to do such good television. And how awesome would it be to see Tony versus Sandra? Wouldn't that just be awesome?
I feel like if he and Sandra were on the same season now, they would not be on the same drive.
Oh, no, I don't think so. But if we could see a Tony versus Sandra feud again, that would be awesome. But I have a hard time believing that both of them would make it to a merge or something like that. So,
yeah, I don't know.
So Jackie, what's the next? He made the spy shack. He tried making the spy bunker. What do you think's the next thing that he's going to pull out of his bag of tricks?
Okay, I'm kind of upset that he never tried to do his clones thing. He never had the opportunity to do that.
Oh,
But I don't think he's going to do that because people would be aware of it. I don't know. Oh, spy shack. Maybe he would have like a spy treehouse or something like that.
I think, yeah,
Like he started on the ground, then he went underground. That didn't work, so he's gonna go up in the air. He's going aerial now.
So I can easily see, people in the middle of the night walking into the water well, and then they look up and Tony's just hanging from a tree above them. Bit of conversation.
I would like to think that he's like straddling the tree, like hugging it, but
yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, he's gonna have some stuff in his bag of tricks. I think he's a hard person to do that this season.
I feel like he's gonna make himself like a palm from mat and like just figure out a way to like tie it to the tree, and then he can just kind of slide over it and hear whatever is going on.
Oh, we need more Tony in our lives.
We need more Tony. Did you mention JT in your honorable mentions?
I did not. I just skipped JT. Yeah, JT was also, it wasn't intentional, but he was also one of our honorable mentions, but I think we both feel like that we've seen the best of JT. We've seen JT at his best, we've seen JT at his worst. I don't think there's anything new that we can see from him. I mean, we could probably get some more big moves that don't work out for him, but...
Yeah. I feel, JT just does worse and worse every time he comes out there, and I don't think it would be I think 3 times around is enough for JT. But I have to say, as far as winner runs and wins that I respect the most, JT is most definitely up there. He ruled Chains.
On a season where that was a lot of stiff competition. You had Brandon, you had Tyson, you had Coach, Steven, I think Todd.
There were such good characters on the season.
There were a lot of people that were good at the game. I mean, they just all happened to trust JT and want JT to win.
No, but literally, he had Steven and Taj. As far as he came from a minority alliance, and he figured out a way to work with people and make people love him so much that they just wanted to throw $1 million at him. And I felt that was just such a respectful game, in my opinion. If you're talking about one of the best games played ever, it would be JT 1.0. Yeah. I'd have to say.
And the reason he's not on this list is because in the 2 times he's played since then, he really hasn't proved himself.
Yeah. I just wanted to express my fondness for his win, but then say he's not on this season.
All right. Well, why don't we recap the list of people we got here, since we've now gone through our full 20. All right. For the women, would you like to go through the women, Jackie?
Okay. So we have Kim, Sandra, Denise, Tina, Michele, Sophie, Natalie White, Parvati, Natalie Anderson, and Sarah.
All right, and then for the men, we have Richard Hatch, we have Yule, Earl, Todd, we have Tyson, Fabio, Jeremy, Adam, Aras, and Tony. with our alternates being JT, Boston Rob, Cochran for the men, and Jenna and Danni for the women.
Yes. Do you want to briefly talk about Jenna and Danni?
Not particularly.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think Jenna could be interesting just as far as just like proving like that she has something to her. I mean, she won such a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's kind of iffy on whether or not they would let her back where she did quit All Stars, but that was kind of for a good reason.
That was a much
I feel like
circumstance.
there's like a rationale behind her quitting
No,
All Stars. And Danni was such a strong female in Guatemala. It's definitely would be a representation of like a different era of Survivor. Because like if you take that final tribal council and the stuff people thought and said about Stephanie and Danni, like in this kind of era of Survivor, Danni wouldn't have been the one who won. But back in that era, she most definitely was the one who won. So I feel like it's kind of that would be kind of an interesting play, including her in this. But yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. Big question.
Winner picks?
Winner picks.
Or do you have what?
No, winner picks. That was what I was going to go for. All right. Do you have a winner pick out of this group? Who wins Survivor? Winners all wins.
Okay. Well, I was thinking I had an answer before, and I am deeply confused now. But I am gonna go with Michele Fitzgerald as my winner pick.
There you go, Michele Fitzgerald. Now, that is someone I was definitely considering highly myself.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to give any rationale, or do you want to just go straight into your winner pick?
If you want to go into some thought process. How is Michele going to make it feel?
Okay. I feel like she's enough underestimated, but she's enough recently known, and she would have that drive of definitely trying to prove all of her haters wrong. And she could just knock everyone out of the water, and people would have such little expectations of her. But she does have that very strategic and social side to her, and she does have the ability of going on an immunity tear like that when she needs it. And I feel like there's definitely more we could see out of her, and with that edge of needing to prove herself, she could definitely do well. So that's why I'm going with Michele.
All right. Well, okay. Michele was definitely towards the top of the list of people I think would do well in this season. I'm going to go with another person that we talked about that we thought would do very well. I'm going to have to go with Earl Cole as my winner pick of this Survivor.
I think that's a pretty solid pick. I think
so too. And I think we're kind of on the same page with the type of people we think would do well. And realistically, my secondary one would be Sandra, winner third time.
I mean, we're both going to root for Sandra, but if it wasn't Sandra,
I would have a real hard time with this season. Because, I mean, obviously we chose these players, so I would have a real hard time trying to root for, not rooting for you, or, rooting for you and Sandra and Denise and so many of these people that I love to watch.
I think I would be very upset every episode of this season, but also be very happy at the same time. I think it would be like an emotional roller coaster. I don't think I could handle like almost any of these people getting voted out, but like I also would be so excited for some of these people working together.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have to. I think it would be fun to watch.
I think it would be very fun to watch. Okay, so question: who do you think the first person voted out of this season would be?
Oh, first person voted out. As much as it might pain me, I think that'd have to be Tony. I think Tony goes out.
You have to go Tony.
I think Tony is the first person voted out.
I think that's a pretty solid pick. I mean, you saw him this time around. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna go look for an idol while you guys make nice. Llama sounds, and yeah.
Yeah,
Because I'm not going to actually make the llama sounds.
All right. Who do you think would be the first one out? You can't go Tony.
Oh. I'm going to say Richard Hatch.
Richard Hatch, you think he's going to be, I can see that. I can see him being very bold.
I'm not like 100% committed to that idea, but like I feel like he definitely could be. I feel like he could rub some people the wrong way, and then and he would seem like such a like legend with like a cloud over his head past or something. I don't know, but I don't know why I made a cloud, but
All right, well, okay, so our winner picks are Earl and Michele. Our first boots are Tony and Richard. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about here before we talk good?
Do you want to make a prediction? I have one last prediction I want to make.
All
who do you think is going to find an idol? Or who do you think is going to find the most idols?
You go first. I think you thought about this.
What? You want me to go first?
You go. You're the one who's clearly thought about this.
I didn't think about this. Maybe I'll go.
I think it's pretty obvious who's going to find the most idols. I think it's going to be none other than the man himself, Fabio.
Fabio. I wouldn't predict that, but I think there's a chance that could be a reality. Part of me kind of wants to say like Denise, but I think I'm gonna go Adam because he's proven that he's able to find idols in kind of this randomness of it all, and he's been able to like he found it multiple times, and idols have gotten harder and harder to find, and he did it without people like necessarily noticing or paying attention to him.
Well, I mean, looking at this, there's so many of these people who found idols. Your kid found an idol. Sandra had an idol at one point. Denise, was part of a pair that had an idol.
And like Parvati could easily be finding idols, like
maybe a little of that Russell magic, rubbed off on her.
I don't think Tony will be around long enough to find many idols, but
if I'm going right away, he might be good off. Todd, found an idol.
But I mean, there's a guarantee. But there's like an almost guarantee that Tony's going to be out looking for idols basically immediately. So.
Yeah, probably. I think another, you all theoretically could be one that can find idols. I mean, you got Jeremy in there too, who found a couple idols himself. Tyson, got an idol. But a lot of these people got idols, so I think we can hard to figure. I think it could be completely random. Because I mean, who I guess at Troyzan would have been the one to find idols? I mean, even though he found one in his first season, I don't think people would have necessarily guessed him to find it this season. So. All right. Well, I think we've gone through our entire season. I think in the description or in the comments below, we'll put a link to our list of names. So if you want to just kind of look at it as you go or something like that, we'll put it in the down below for this video.
With our like description on our channel or whatever, there's links to our Twitter account and our Facebook page.
You made a Facebook page too.
There's a Facebook page too.
Wow, look at us! Aren't we cool? Yes. All right. Armchair Masterminds coming at you.
On Twitter we are at ArmchairMM.
Right.
And our Facebook page is at Armchair Masterminds because they are not the same.
Exactly. I think this was a pretty successful first full podcast or first full video that we did. Probably went a little longer than we probably should have, but we get to really give our full analysis on each one of these players. So.
Yeah, our full analysis. I mean, most of our conversations kind of go a long time if we start talking about different things.
Yeah.
So I think this is not completely unanticipatable, but
No.
yes, this is verging on 2 hours. I think we're about 2 hours now.
Anticipatable over. Anticipatable is over.
Okay. Oh wait. Okay. What video are we gonna do next? Let's announce that.
I don't know.
Underrated players.
We'll probably. I don't know. Within the next week, we'll have something else come out. Another off-season kind of probably Survivor, mainly Survivor-related stuff. So sometime within the next week, we'll probably have something. If somehow you made it to the end of it, thank you for watching and listening to our very odd train of thought that we had when it came to this. We were talking about it, so if anyone wants to listen to it, awesome. I doubt anyone will make it this far. Like Becky said, we on Twitter is at armchairnn. If you're looking for me individually, I'm at PeterLumpy13 on Twitter. This is something I think we're enjoying doing, and we'll keep going to go. So we definitely enjoy doing stuff like this, and this, I know, like Becky said, this is just something that we enjoy talking about on our own. So we're just kind of recording it and putting it out there so if anyone wants to listen or enjoy our thoughts, thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. Yeah.
And goodbye.
Bye.